Harihi Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryan Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So today's topic is the law of karma. It's from one side very famous topic and often discussed, from other side often misunderstood topic. What exactly is the law of karma? So today we are going to speak a little bit about this. What is karma? Literally, karma means work or activity. So the law of karma means that for every action that we are performing, there is a reaction. Or in other words, we can call this the law of cause and effect. There is something which going on, and it will bring to something else that will happen after it. A cause and effect. So in other words, practical terms, the pain or pleasure we cause others will sooner or later return back to us. If we do good to others, it will come back good to us. If we do bad to others, it will come bad to us. Of course, sometimes people are saying, wait a minute, it looks like there are so many people in this world, they are doing bad, but it doesn't look that they are suffering. And there are so many nice people who apparently are doing good things, but looks like that they are suffering. So it's a valid question, it's a good question. A few things we can say in this regard is, one thing is, well, first we should know what means good and bad. Because sometimes it looks that someone is doing something good, but actually he may be doing something bad.
Intentions are bad.
Yes. For example, sometimes people are saying, well, I'm a good person. Why this suffering is coming to me? I didn't do anything bad to anybody. But then if you, for example, ask him, but do you eat meat? Do you take part in the killing of innocent animals? He'll say, what this has to do with my suffering? I cannot make the connection. So sometimes, because of our ignorance or because of lack of knowledge, we cannot see if we do something bad. And sometimes we think we are doing good, but actually it may not be exactly as good as we think.
So it could be like knowingly or unknowingly. Whoever does whatever.
Correct, yes.
So it has effect to it.
Yes, sometimes Srila Prabhupada gives the example, and often it's given the example with the fire. Fire is a fire, and no matter if you know that in front of you have fire or not, if you touch it, there will be a certain result. So in the same way, no matter if you have proper knowledge or not, if you break the laws of God, there will be some reaction. Of course, if we know and we break them, there is even worse reaction, because you know, and although you know, still you break the rule, then it's even worse. Like for example, in the law, if one person harms another, if they can prove that he's a little bit crazy, then they may excuse him completely or to big extent, because it's kind of without knowledge. He doesn't really know what's happening, what is he doing.
cannot account of his deeds.
Yes.
It's unaccountable.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the books are here. Pana. But if someone knows that this is a forbidden action and he performs it, although he knows, then the law will be, how you say in English? There is a very way
More punishment.
in English to put it. The law will, закона ще се наложи с цялата си тежест. How you say this in English?
The full strength of the law.
Will be put in this case. Because the law is law, but it can be flexible. The books. Yeah, the point is that if we know, there will be a reaction and it will be the full reaction. If we don't know, okay, we may be excused to some extent. So that's one thing. Sometimes we may think I'm a good person, but we may not be as good as we think. Maybe we unknowingly do something wrong, and that's why there is reaction. Now, in other cases, someone is really good. Someone is a nice person. But then, apparently, bad things happens in his life. Well, it may have a different reasons. Like, for example, most often what we are saying is the reason maybe in the previous lives. This life, he maybe learned his lesson and now he's a good guy. But in previous lives, he may did something wrong. So some reaction should come. And now apparently you think, but I'm already a holy man, a saintly person, I'm living in a very pure way of life. Why this happening to me? Well, it may be happening because before you were not pure. So this can be one reason. Of course, in the case of the devotees, the great pure devotees, although they are completely pure in this life and in their previous lives, sometimes wrong things are happening. One of the explanations the acharyas are giving is, well, because the God, he has to give some lessons to humanity, and he has to use someone who is able to keep up on this suffering and react in a proper way. So that's why he's using his devotees, like for example Jesus Christ or the Pandavas from Mahabharata. These are pure devotees and still bad things are happening to them. This is not the law of karma. This is a special arrangement, plan of the Lord, just to teach the common people like us by putting his pure devotees, his very dear devotees, to different difficulties. And when the common people see how they react in this difficult situation, this is a lesson for them. Oh, okay. So this is how a saintly person should react. This is how I should react on this situation. There are various stages, both in cause and effect. Each effect is also a cause for the future effect. So it's like a continuous circle. So generally, everything starts with the wrong desire. Bija. Bija means desire. When you desire something improper, then gradually you cultivate a inclination or determination or decision to do certain activity so that you can fulfill your desires.
Things like that.
Yes.
Pretty much.
It manifests.
Manifest. There you go.
Yes. The first level is called bija, seed. The desire is the seed. Then the second level is called kutastha, beach. A bud of a flower.
Oh, okay.
How you say?
Bud.
Yes.
Flower bud.
Mm-hmm. So you are already getting determination. You are taking the decision to perform a particular activity so that you can fulfill your desire. And then next part is the activity itself. This is called palon mukha, the fruit of our action.
So the nectar?
Fruit, activity.
No, is it nectar?
Nectar.
Could it be like nectar? Because you said like the bud of the flower. Is it like the nectar of the flower? I don't know.
No, first he said
It's the fruit.
seed. First you plant the seed,
Right.
then the flower,
But,
the bud of the flower.
and then is
and
the
then
fruit.
the fruit.
Yeah, so is the fruit the nectar?
No, it keeps on growing.
Oh.
In this case, it's not a nectar
You
because
manifested the seed, and now it's
I'm sorry.
getting bigger and bigger.
Oh.
And then the fruit comes out.
I got it. Nectar's after.
That
Okay,
sense, yeah.
I get it. Thank you.
and then the last stage is reaction, happiness or distress. There is some reaction from your activity. We can, in Sanskrit, the word is prarabdha karma, the manifested karma, to harvest the fruits. So basically, we have a certain desire, then there is a certain decision or determination on the basis of this desire that I will do this and this. Then you do it, and then there is some result.
Action, reaction to it.
Yes,
Or the
correct, reaction. So, if the desire is sinful desire, unlawful, wrong desire, then you will get the determination to do wrong activity. And you will perform wrong activity, and there will be bad result at the end. If your desire is correct, if your desire is right, then your determination will be, yes, let me do this good thing, and then gradually you perform the correct activity, right activity, and then you get a good result. So this is how the law of karma acts, action and reaction. So I would just add something more about this. Very often this is described as a circle, the circle of karma. And when you come to the reaction from your activity, there is, after that, in order to close the circle, so you come again to the idea of inclination. Because you did certain activity once, now gradually you get the inclination to do it twice, and 3 times, and 4 times. So this thing we call habit. If you are associating with wrong people, with bad people, on a bad place, gradually you develop certain habits, which will be, in this case, bad habits. And if you associate with the good people, in a good place, good association, gradually you develop inclination for good habits, good activities. So the habit or the inclination will force you to make the same thing again. Hare Krishna. So this is how actually the law of karma works. You desire something, because you desire, you decide that you will do something, then you do it, and after doing it you get your result, your reaction. So the idea is that we have to be very careful what kind of desires we cultivate, because from the desire we can see everything starts. If you have right, correct desires, you will go well down the road. And if you have wrong desires, after that things will get bad. So how do we work on our desires? From where we get desire for one thing or the other, good desires or bad desires? From our environment, association, correct. Our association will more or less decide what kind of desires we will cultivate. That's why Srila Prabhupada was saying, if you associate with sadhus, you become a saint. If you associate with thieves, you become a thief. It's very, very important with what kind of personalities we are associating. Karma is administered by the super soul. So basically when we do something right or wrong, God knows it already, immediately. Because He's in our heart, immediately He can see what are we doing, and what do we deserve on the basis of what we are doing, good or bad. So he knows the past, the present, and the future. He keeps track of our karmic accounts. Everything that we do, Krishna already knows it. There are things for us that other people know. And there are things that we think others don't know. And it may be true. But there is nothing for us that Krishna doesn't know. Whatever we did, whenever we did it, in the night, in the day, at home, alone, Krishna knows it all and all. Well, Chitragupta, he is rather working with Yamaraj. Whereas
But he keeps a track on every single
he also knows, yes. Super Soul gives. Chitragupta is the secretary of Yamaraj. Yamaraj is the lord of punishment, the lord of death. So the Super Soul gives a special empowerment of Yamaraj and his secretary. They are like the Super Soul. They know everything that's going on everywhere for every living entity. But originally, this is the Super Soul. Super Soul is within our heart, always next to the soul, and knows everything about the soul. Not only what we did, what we think in a certain moment. Everything that we thought, Super Soul already knows it. Nobody else knows this. We have in the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, at some point, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the last avatar of Krishna, the golden avatar, generally he didn't want to play the role of God because he didn't came for this reason. He came for the reason to play the role of devotee. Correct. That's why even when someone was telling that he's the Supreme Lord, he was arguing against. He was saying, no, this is blasphemy, I'm not the Supreme Lord. But there are a few cases when he wanted to prove his devotees that he is the Supreme Lord actually. So in one of those cases he went to the house of Shrivas, his great devotee Shrivas, and moved on his altar, moved everything left and right, and sat down in the middle of his altar in his house. And he said, Shrivas, I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu. Worship me. And Shiva started worshipping him with all paraphernalia and this and that. And then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, call for all my devotees. And Shivas immediately arranged, all the devotees came in his house. And they were worshipping the Supreme Lord for a long time. And then Mahaprabhu wanted to prove them that he is the Supreme Lord. And he started saying to each devotee something that nobody else knows about him. Nobody else. For each and every devotee, he was saying amazing things. Like, for example, he said to his guru, when Mahaprabhu was small, he was going to a Gurukula. He was a student. And his guru, his teacher, is known as Gangadas Pandit. Learned, he was very learned Brahmana. So Gangadas Pandit was there in front of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he said, do you remember one time you went with your family, with your wife and your daughter to this and this distant place from your house, and you are coming back, but it was very, very late and it was very dark, and suddenly in the darkness behind you appeared these Muslim soldiers, and you became very scared for your wife and your daughter, and you started walking faster and faster, but they were following you. Do you remember this? Gangadas said, yes, I remember. Do you remember that you reached to the river and you wanted to catch the boat to cross the river, but there was no boatman? Do you remember this? He said, yes, my lord, I remember. There was nobody there. And suddenly, do you remember a boat came with the boatman just in front of you? He said, yes, I remember. But how do you know nobody was there? I was this boatman. Mahaprabhu, he said. And then he turned to Haridas Thakur, which is Namacharya Haridas Thakur, one of the greatest devotees of Mahaprabhu, Lord Brahma in the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he said, Haridas, do you remember when you went for this meeting with the Muslim governor and he told you that you should stop your religious activities of chanting Hare Krishna, otherwise he will punish you. And you refused. You said, do whatever you like with me, I will never stop performing my Sanatan Dharma, my duty of worshipping the Supreme Lord by chanting His holy name. He became angry at you, and he ordered his guards, his bodyguards, to bring you for creating fear in the people, to bring you from marketplace to marketplace and beat you with bamboo sticks, beat you on the back and bring you from one marketplace to the other until you die. Do you remember this? And Harda said, yes, sure, my Lord, I remember. Do you remember that they were bringing you from one place to the other and they were beating you like anything, but you are not feeling any pain? Do you remember this? Harda said, yes, my Lord, I remember. And I was amazed how it is possible. And Mahaprabhu said, that was because I was lying on your back. They were not beating you, they were beating me. I'll prove this now to you. And Mahaprabhu turned back, and all the devotees saw the marks from the beating on his back. And like that, Mahaprabhu was going on and on and on and on, and he was proving to the devotees that he is actually the Supreme Lord. So, Paramatma, the Supreme Lord, he is always with the soul. And Paramatma knows everything about us. There is nothing we can hide from Krishna. We can hide many things from other people. We can pose in front of other people. I am this, I am that, I am a saintly person, I am this and that. With Krishna we cannot do that. Krishna knows it, everything. Our deeds, our thoughts, our words, everything. So that's why in front of one person at least we have to be always honest in front of Krishna. We should not try to cheat Krishna. Yes.
What about things that are unclear, things that are unknown to us? Krishna still knows, but does he reveal to us over time?
If it's necessary.
Like the boatman, or some things we discover for ourselves?
If this will enhance our spiritual advancement, he will. If it doesn't, he may not, or he may. It doesn't matter so much. But if something will help that our faith becomes stronger and we advance spiritually, yes, he'll do. Because that's the idea of the exercise, to advance spiritually.
What about that thing called universal knowledge? Like, you might know something, but how did you know it? And then it might be true, and like, how can this be? And it's like, because even though Krishna only sees, of course, but like we might know something, and like universal knowledge can like put it in anyone's, like an example of like, for me personally, or maybe I would say at least things in my life I can remember this. Like one time there was this paraprofessional in the school I worked at, like 24 years actually, and she didn't look like what might be called, what might one think of a typical dancer body, whatever that is. But for some reason, I just thought like that she danced with the Alvin Ailey troupe. But why did I even think that? I don't know. And then like 2 years later, she happened to mention that she used to go to Alvin Ailey dance school. Like, and I was like,
How it is possible? Yes.
yeah.
Universal knowledge, or I would say knowledge that Krishna may decide to give you for one reason or the other. Sometimes Krishna is doing these things, and that's why people, they have some interesting spiritual experiences. Sometimes they may not understand that actually Krishna is giving them this knowledge. They may think that they are some very special personalities or extra sense or something like that. Like, for example, can tell you an interesting story. It happened with me when I was a kid. I still remember it. It's not really a spiritual story, but for me it's kind of important, because maybe when I look back in my life, maybe one of the first times when Krishna obviously appeared in my life, I was at that time fourth grade or fifth, I guess. I think fourth. So we had a class of mathematics, but there was a big flu epidemic, and many of the students were sick, and because of that, the teacher said, we won't take any new material. Well, we would just play little games, just so that time passed by. So she got an interesting book, which is with very interesting logical tasks, and the students, they have to answer, helping to develop our thinking, our logical thinking. And so one of the, I won't really go into detail what was exactly, I remember it, what was exactly the task, but basically it was like a interesting story with a question at the end. And we were trying to guess the answer, and we were trying again and again, everybody from the class, but nobody could glue what's actually the answer. And then the teacher was saying, okay, do you give up? Shall I tell you the answer? We were saying, no, we don't give up. We were trying again and again, but nobody. And then she said, okay, do you give up? And we didn't want it. So we just always, at least two people, they were putting their hands up so that we are able to keep up. It's like a competition. And then at the end, nobody had any answers anymore. And then I decided, no, we cannot give up, let's do it. And I put my hand, but when I put my hand, I was completely conscious that I don't have any answer. I don't have any answer. And then the teacher said, yes, you can say what's the answer. And then gradually I started, get up, because that was the culture at that time. You get up and then you say the answer. There was a certain culture in the schools, already communistic time. And I got up and I knew, I don't know what to say, but I really wanted to say something. Then suddenly, from my mouth came an answer. But that was not my answer, because I don't know this. I didn't know this. Just like someone else spoke through my mouth and said exactly the answer. And she said, yes, that's the answer. Amazing, very good. And I was just staying like that, and I mean, what happened now? It was like, and I thought a little bit about it, but not much, because at that time I was not believing in God. My family was not really, they were not really believers. Maybe we go 2 times in a year just to church, just for the ritual on a Christmas Day and Easter, and that's it. But then later, when I became interested from spirituality and I became a Hare Krishna, when I thought about this, I got it. Paramatma, that was Krishna. You had a very strong desire, so strong desire that Paramatma reciprocated. Okay, I'll tell you the answer of this question. So
how
it
old
was
is 4th grade? 4th grade. You said you were in 4th grade. How old is that?
4th grade. In my case, it was 10 years old.
10, 11, 8 to 10?
10.
10.
Because generally, most students, they start 1st grade is 7 years old. But in my case, my parents, they gave me from 6. They decided, let's just go faster through the school. So I was 10 at that time. So, Paramatma.
I have about to say the same thing. So Paramatma, maybe you can answer right now. You can answer.
Paramatma, he arranges for the particular body and circumstances we get in life. According to what? According to our actions before, our karma. So Krishna is making the arrangement. Krishna is putting us in a certain situation, in a certain place. Let's say one is born in America, one in Colombia, one in Bulgaria, one in Tajikistan or whatever. And you get a certain body, a man body, a woman body, a very strong body, or maybe, how you say, what's the word?
Disabled.
Yes, disabled body. Why? Hare Krishna. Welcome. Why is that? Well, because we did a certain things before, and Krishna knows. And according to what we did before, he gives us certain situation. Now, if we did good things, that means our freedom will be bigger. If we did bad things, what happened with the bad people? Their freedom becomes less. Yes. So we'll be put in a situation, maybe in a country, in a body, the amount of money that we have. All this will create less opportunity for us if we were not so good people before. If we were good people, we'll have more opportunity. Let's say we are born in a country with more opportunity. We'll get a good education, we'll have money, we'll have beauty, and so on and so on. So basically, freedom. The more you act according to the laws, the more freedom you have. The less you act according to the laws, the less freedom you have. Like, for example, in the country, if you drive a car, if you follow nicely all the rules and regulations, you have the freedom to go everywhere. Yes. But if you don't, then you are immediately restricted. Immediately restricted. So that's the idea of the law of karma. Situation in which we are entering, it depends what we are doing before. And Krishna knows, and because he knows, okay, now he will be put in this and this and this situation. And Krishna basically gives order, and the demigods, Maya, material energy, they arrange for the situation for us.
So these laws apply to the material. These laws.
Yes, these are the laws created by God, laws of the universe.
But for the material, for each of us, like the body and the.
Correct.
That's why Maya is the one that.
Ruling it.
But that's nothing to do with our spiritual purpose or the relationship with.
It has to do from the perspective that the more we break the laws of God, the less looks like it's our opportunity to become serious about spirituality. From one perspective. Because when you become a bad guy, when you are influenced by more ignorance, it's more difficult the spark of spirituality to start burning in your heart. The more pure you are, the more better person, then it looks like it's easier, the spark to be lightened.
It looks easier.
Looks easier from the perspective that, technically speaking, philosophically speaking, Bhakti is available for everybody. You can be the greatest demon or mafia guy, and a devotee may meet you on the street and can tell you, hey, we are monks, can you please give small donation? And suddenly you may get the piety from somewhere to give him a donation, and he can give you a spiritual book, and your spiritual life begins. But generally, the pious people, they'll have more the tendency to give to spiritual people, to associate with spiritual people. That's why we say generally their opportunity to start their spiritual life is better, it's easier. But it's not 100%. And we have many, many examples of the opposite, that sometimes great demons, because of good association of saintly people, they became big devotees. Many cases like with Narada Muni. Valmiki as well. He was a heavy guy. He was a heavy guy, but... Jagayan Madai. Yes. So, we are saying generally what's the law, but sometimes there are exceptions, because the mercy of Krishna is spiritual. It's not really dependent on material situation. But material situation is favorable. The good material situation is favorable.
The reason
Both
why I
at
asked
the
is
same.
because you said that the karma applies to material laws. So if someone's done something bad in a previous life and they're born autistic or with a disability in the mind, generally people think, well, in this ideology it would be that that's a punishment. In a general worldview, like a lot of people discard disabled people. Like in the Middle East, you don't see anyone that's disabled. They keep their kids at home, locked up. But from experiencing my cousin that has autism, they're actually very, like that spark of joy that you talked about, they actually, I feel, experience more than us that look normal.
They may.
Or more opportunities.
Of course, if your body is disabled, from one perspective we can say it's a little bit more difficult for you to easily advance spiritually. Because like for example, if your body is nice, you can easily serve Krishna. If not, you can still serve Krishna because devotional service is for everybody, but it will take more endeavor. If your mind is pretty in a good shape, you can easily chant Hare Krishna and meditate. If your mind is disabled, still you can do it and still get the benefit, but just it will be one idea more difficult.
Like the guy in the wheelchair that came. I mean, regardless of the body.
He
Or
can,
maybe that's his karma and his punishment. but
because
he can still,
because bhakti is a spiritual process, everybody can take to bhakti and everybody can advance. But for some people it will be easier, for others it won't. Like I have friends, some of them are devotees and they have very nice and strong bodies and they can do lots of service to Krishna. Others, they have serious problems with their body. But because they are very determined, they are still advancing spiritually, but it's not easy for them. Like I have a friend of mine, he's a devotee, initiated devotee from Bulgaria. When he was in his 40s, suddenly he got this disease and his muscles of his feet just melted. They just melted. But he was so determined, he was exercising so much every day, that he's kind of able to walk, but very, very very difficult with the help of crutches. So, and he's a devotee, and he's chanting every day, and he's even trying to distribute books, but it's more difficult. Of course, for Krishna, from the perspective of Krishna, there is no difference. Because that someone will distribute, let's say today, 100 books, and someone else will distribute 1 book, but from their perspective, they will have to put the same endeavor to do it. Krishna, from his perspective, takes the service in the same absolute way. So for Krishna, there is no difference. The one will advance spiritually and the other. But if we have a good body and a good mind, we can do more for Krishna. That's the idea. We can do more for Krishna. Otherwise, Krishna will take the endeavors in the same spiritual way. Yes, Mataji.
3 things quickly. I have a nephew today that has autism. I'm sorry, his 30th birthday is actually today. And I know what you mean though, like, like he's like always, he doesn't have woes and worries that we do and everything because he's at a different level, at a different level. He's 30, but like a preschooler. So like, I know what you mean. Like he has those less woes it seems than anyone. And then another thing is that I know a devotee that knows a devotee that has MS or something like that, muscular dystrophy, and multiple sclerosis, I guess it is, yeah. But she helps with the cows a lot, and that gives her a lot of content too. So she's trying to do service with her disability, helping cows and stuff. And the first thing I wanted to say now, last, is that I remember at a class that we were at, I forgot what devotee, in the temple room, and he had visuals a lot, and the title of that particular time was Why Do Bad Things Happen to Good People? And he explained it as a silo, is that what it's called, on a farm? When you put the wheat in the top, it's like kind of like this shape with the small at the bottom, so rats can't come in easily and stuff is at the top. So he said, when you do good things, here it is over here, but what's coming out is what was put in maybe even other lifetimes ago. Remember that?
Yeah.
I can't remember his name, yeah. And so I thought that was interesting. We were kind of like,
So-
that explains
so
it.
it funnels out, like it's coming
Yeah,
from
but
you.
like, okay, you did
Yes,
good
because-
actions, maybe it's over here.
Because what we are reading now at the moment is not what we work out today. It's
Right.
what we work out the previous week. Like for example, now you're spending your money, but this money they came from today. No, they didn't came from today's work. The money from today's work will come.
Last week.
You eat with them next week. Now you're eating with the money from your previous work, previous week. So in the law of karma, it goes the same way. That's why, as we said in the beginning, sometimes apparently Someone will say, well, wait a minute, why this bad thing is happening to me? Well, maybe you didn't do anything wrong this life, but maybe previous life you did something wrong. So the lesson from this discussion is that whatever happens to us, good or bad, we should know one thing. We are the cause for this. It's not other people, it's not the material nature, it's not the government, it's not Krishna. We are the cause for this. If something good happens in our life, we are the cause of it. In a sense that we did something good before. If something bad happens to our life, we are the cause for it. We should not blame others. Of course, a devotee, he goes one level even further. He thinks whatever bad happens, he thinks I'm the reason for this because I'm a rascal. I'm number one rascal. But when something good happens in his life, he doesn't take the credit for himself. He thinks, I don't deserve this. I don't have the qualification to get this. But because Krishna is so merciful to me, that's why this nice thing is happening. So devotee goes even one level further, being completely dependent on Krishna. Now another interesting point is that Krishna awards us, as the living beings, what we deserve and what we desire. So it's not only what we desire, but it's also what we deserve. Sometimes we desire something, but we don't deserve it. What means to deserve? Well, you should have the money to get something. Sometimes we desire to buy a Tesla car, but we don't have the money. We have only $10,000. If I have a driver with it, no problem. I'm fine.
Comes with Krishna.
Or let's say we want to buy a flat, but actually we want to buy a 4-bedroom flat, but we have the money for 1-bedroom flat. So you cannot get something that you don't have the money to allow yourself to have. So in the same way, sometimes we desire something, and Krishna, he may approve this desire, he may allow something to happen. But what will happen? It will happen according to our previous karma, according to what we deserve. Like for example, someone wants to become a businessman. He wants to make 1 million. But actually, he didn't do such a nice, good activities that he earns 1 million this life. Maybe he gave only that much charity that in this life he deserves to have only 200,000. So he'll get that much. He'll get according to his desire, but also he'll get according to what he deserves. That's very also important, we could say, law. It's fair. That's the idea. Everything in the universe is fair and logical. Sometimes we may not be qualified to see the logic behind it, but everything that God created, everything that God maintains, all the laws, everything is 100% logical. There is no injustice in the creation of the Lord. Everything is 100% just. Maybe we don't see how it is just. Maybe in the future we'll be able to see. But it is always just. Yes.
A word comes to my mind, this sense of entitlement. Like you may have a person who thinks or believes that they should have certain things, and they pray and they say prayer to God. Why? They keep, and they feel their prayer is not being answered, and they feel they should be getting certain things, and they just don't get it. They don't get it no matter how much. So in a situation like that, as having a sense of entitlement, they feel that they deserve. What could a person do if Krishna is not God?
Well, if they really deserve it, they will get it. And if they're not getting it, then they have two options. Either to become humble and accept that, okay, apparently I think I deserve it, but maybe I don't deserve it. Or other thing is to have unrealistic expectation, and the unrealistic expectation is the greatest cause for suffering in this world. you expect that something should happen, but it won't happen. This will create so much suffering in your life. You don't want to see the reality. Just you want to be blind. There is one spiritual person in my country. He's saying interesting things sometimes, a little bit mystical. So he said that people who wear glasses, what is the reason why they are wearing glasses? Because they didn't wanted to see the truth, the reality. And now in this life they have to wear glasses. He's saying like that. It's not coming from Shastra, but it's coming from Sadhu. So
That's true. They want to stay in equilibrium. What about idealism? What about you can want to see people for how they are, or life, governments, whatever. But what about idealism? When people
Idealism-
give the benefit of the doubt.
idealism is good if it's connected with Krishna, with the spirituality, because then it can become reality. Otherwise, if your idealism is material, sooner or later it will bring only to disappointment, nothing else. No matter what is your idea, no matter what is your cause for which you are fighting, because it's material, it's a question of time to be unsuccessful. Like wise people are saying, there is one reason that we study the history. What is this reason to study the history?
We don't make the same mistake again.
Correct, to learn from the mistakes of others.
Learn from our past.
So if we go through the history of humanity, we will see that all these things, they are not working. There were so many idealistic people for so many material causes. None of them was successful. There was people, they wanted... There were so many revolutions in close history of the world. Is it?
Yeah.
We had monarchy. Then the bourgeois, they came, they killed the monarchs, they took over, the businessmen took over. Then after some years, the working class, they came and they said, oh, we don't need you, we need only your money. So they killed the businessmen, they took over. Then the communism came. Then after another years, the businessmen again said, hey, wait a minute, we have to take it over again from the working class. And they took it over, they make the capitalism. And like that, everybody has his idea what will be the perfect society order, how the people will be perfect, like liberty, what was it? The French.
Life, liberty, and pursuit of
Yes.
happiness.
So many different ideas. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. So many different ideas for happiness. None of it works. Why? Because it's material. Material means it's coming and it's going. It's a fashion.
Even in relationships?
Everything material, it's coming and going. Because it's material, because it's
But it can be
temporary.
spiritual.
The modes of material nature are changing, and with them, the different things in the world are changing. What people like to eat, what they like to wear, what kind of social system they are going to follow, constantly, again and again and again and again. If our idealistic ideas are connected with Krishna consciousness, then they'll bring us happiness, and then they will come to reality at some point. Sooner or later they will come to reality. Because Krishna will make so. If the devotee desires something, the greatest happiness in life of Krishna is to make desires of his devotees become real, become true. Like Srila Prabhupada. Because he was a pure devotee, he didn't want anything for himself. He just wanted everything for the benefit of others. He desired, let that be a worldwide spiritual movement. And it happened. Just for a few years, 5 years. After 5 years, there was a world Hare Krishna International Society for Krishna Consciousness. It's amazing. So then
But that's idealistic.
that's idealistic.
People would be like, well, we're in war, blah, blah, blah. No, this is the way it should be.
Because it's connected with Krishna, then it's real. If it's not connected with Krishna, it won't work out. So now we have three kinds of karma. So we said karma, the word karma means action or activity. Activity. So now we have three kinds of action. And they are technically known as karma, vikarma, and akarma. Karma means good material action. How do we define a good material action?
Things that are in benefit of others.
Yes, how benefit, but who gives the criteria what is beneficial for others? Like, for example, the guy is walking on the street, he sees the beggar, and he says, sure, of course, I'll do something good for you. Here you go, $5. And the guy takes the $5 and says, thank you very much. Goes to the shop behind him, gets the whiskey, 100 ml, and starts drinking. So the guy was thinking he's doing something good, but actually he did something bad. So who gives the definition what is good and what is bad? Who gives this?
The text, the Vedic literature.
Correct. Correct. Exactly. That's why we are saying if your activity is according to scripture, it's karma. It's a good action. The moment you are doing something according to the injunction of Vedic scriptures, you're on a safety ground. You won't do any bad, you won't get any bad reaction. So this is known as karma. Now what is vikarma? Vikarma is opposite of karma. So if karma means actions according to Vedic injunction, vikarma means actions opposite to Vedic injunctions. Yes. Or we call these activities sinful activities, bad activities, wrong activities. So they will bring what kind of reaction? Bad reaction, correct. So the first one, we do good material activities, we get good material reaction. This is karma. Then second activity is we do bad material activity, that's why we get a bad material reaction. This is karma. And now we have the third category, karma. Means there is no material reaction. So we do such an action that does not bring neither good material reaction nor good bad material reaction.
Is that like things that you mean to do from a pure place, but you don't have culpability of how the cookie crumbles, so to speak?
That's a very interesting way to say it, just I couldn't get what you
Sorry,
want
I
to
know I
say.
have a really weird way of thinking. Like,
No, you have very good way of thinking, just
karma is like
maybe I don't know English good enough to understand.
I've already come to a understanding after these classes that I think really weird. Like, or like we all have our own way of coming to conclusions.
Yes.
It's not good or bad. So karma, when people want to say, oh, this is my karma, something bad, I got a flat tire, oh, this is my karma, it's actually karma.
Yes. Correct.
And akarma?
Karma, if you today, your uncle calls you on the phone and says, hey, Danny, I like you so much, I have this $500,000, I don't know what to do with them, so I just think to give it to you and just use them as you like. Then you say, oh, that's my good karma.
Or
Akarma is different. It doesn't bring you any good material result, neither any bad material result. It doesn't bring you any material result. It does bring you spiritual result. This is akarma. So akarma actually is a synonym of spiritual activity. To do akarma means to do activities in Krishna consciousness, spiritual activities, things connected with Krishna, with spiritual personalities. So this brings a reaction, but it's a different reaction. It's neither good material nor bad material. It is spiritual reaction. This goes in a different bank account. So we have one bank account which is for material activities. The money there can go up or can go down according to what we do. Now we have a separate account. This is for the spiritual activities. So when we do a karma, when we do a spiritual activity, the money, the benefit goes in this bank account. The difference between the two bank accounts is that the material, no matter what we do, even if we do good activities, the amount of money will go up, and then after some time will go down again. It's naturally. because they charge you all the time.
Yeah.
So gradually it will go down. But the spiritual account, whatever you put inside, it never goes down.
So it's like checking account and saving account.
Savings.
So
Yes.
checking
Savings.
is always fluctuating. But
Correct.
Savings,
The check.
Stay.
Yeah.
it stays.
But even the bank doesn't charge you anything, even
Bank
$1.
doesn't charge you anything, right.
It never goes down. Once you put something in this account, it never goes down. It can just go up. And the moment this account reaches a certain amount, let's say 100%, then you are qualified. With this, you can buy your ticket to
The next level.
to
To
Next
Go
planetary.
local.
the
Go local.
spiritual
to the
world.
spiritual world.
Go local.
To the spiritual.
To the spiritual
Yeah,
world.
go.
This is the money that you can use to buy your ticket to the spiritual world. Other bank account, you can use the money to do whatever you want to do in this material world, good or bad. But with this money, you cannot buy the ticket for the spiritual world. So you need money in your spiritual bank account. And how do you put the money there? By doing bhakti, spiritual activities. When you take part in the kirtan, when you read books like Bhagavad Gita, when you associate with the devotees, when you take prasadam, when you help do some service in the temple, all this brings money in your spiritual bank account. And when the amount comes enough, then you're ready to go. This is how the things are working. So we have karma, vikarma, and akarma. 3 kinds of activities. Good material activity, bad material activity, and spiritual activity. This is the main difference between the different.
Well, question, does that mean when one reaches 100%, they have, it's like their disappearance day? Because now they're going.
No, it may be, it may not be their disappearance day. That means they already have the quota if they want to go to the spiritual world. They may not go.
Oh.
They may decide, okay, Krishna, little later, I have some mission here. I want to do something. But they have the money. They have the money. It's just like you're in America, you want to go for a 1 year tour around the world. And you have the money to buy the tickets. So the money are already there. And you can do it now. But you may decide, no, I don't want to do it this year, I'll do it next year. But it's not a problem of money. I have the money already there. Everything is fine. Just I have some other things to do. When I finish with them, then I'll do it.
It's time.
So you get the interest
Correct.
Which we're not
on
in
your
control
money.
of.
Even you can get some interest,
Interest,
correct?
right.
I suppose well, another sannyasist was saying that the spiritual world is wherever your consciousness is where you are. So it's not really a place. It's a place, the spiritual world, but the pure devotees, they appear to be here, but they're already in the spiritual world because wherever their consciousness is, that's where they are.
Yes.
So it's already attained. They don't have to die to go to the spiritual world. They're already in the spiritual world.
That is correct, yes. Once someone is very advanced, he is in such a level of consciousness that he perceives everything as the spiritual world, although he may be still in the material world. This is called the Jivan Mukta, liberated soul. For us it may look that he is already still in the material body, but he is already liberated. Example is given with the coconut, which is completely dried up. You know these brown coconuts? When they become completely dried up, there is a distance between the shell and the part inside. If you shake it, it will make a noise. So, same example is given for a person who is perfected.
Harder
Shriveled up
outside and softer inside.
No.
No.
But sounds good, but this is not the example. Sometimes they can be other way around. But the example is that the shell is like the material world, and they are like the inner part of the coconut, and they are in the material world, but actually they are never touching the material world. They are totally separated. So they apparently live in the material world, but actually they are not, because with their consciousness they are always already in the spiritual world. That's another topic, but It's a very good thing. Thank you.
Also, I
Marcus.
untitled
Yes.
What was it called?
Jivan, Jivan, Mukta. Mukta means liberated. Jivan means living entity. Living entity who is already liberated from material existence. Like Prabhupada, correct.
And like saints, or no?
Some
Somewhat, just an idea.
Some are, there are different categories. Some may be liberated, some may be
Still working.
trying to come to the level to be liberated. Like for example, we are sadhakas. Sadhaka means we are serious about our spiritual practice, but we are not liberated. But we want to be one day. One day by mercy of Krishna we will become. But now we are not. What is the proof? The proof is that still we are under the influence of the three modes of material nature. This means not liberated. Sometimes our consciousness is influenced by anger, sometimes by lust, sometimes by attachment, sometimes by fear. The modes are changing and our mood in our consciousness is changing because we are not liberated. Liberated person, things around him are moving, so many things are happening, he is not influenced by this. Like Prabhupada, so many things were happening. One time, Srila Prabhupada, there was a certain situation, he became extremely angry. Extremely angry. He reacted very harshly. And then, that was very strange for the devotee. So his servant used the opportunity, little after that, he asked him, actually he saw that he became very angry, but just few minutes after that, he was again as normal. And he said, Srila Prabhupada, it is said that pure devotee, he is actually not influenced by these qualities like anger and greed, but sometimes it may look like that. So how to understand this? And Srila Prabhupada gave the example, he said, the pure devotee, he is like the ocean. Sometimes on the surface of the ocean it may look like that the waves are becoming very big and very strong and there is a storm. But actually, if you go just a little bit under the surface, his consciousness is completely still and peaceful. He is not influenced by these things. So sometimes, for the sake of teaching his disciples or so on and so on, the pure devotee may have to show these things, but he is within himself, he is not influenced by showing these external symptoms. So this for the pure devotee. For us is different story. For us, when we become angry, we are getting angry. We become completely contaminated and then we are thinking about this thing 7 days after that, and oh, this guy, when I see him, I'll tell him, I'll smash his face and this. Why? Because we are influenced. We are not liberated. We are not above it. We are under it. We are in it. That's the situation.
There's a word, equipose.
Equipose, yes.
One way or the other.
Correct.
Affected.
Correct. Yes, that's the pure devotee.
And the other part about being transcendental while you're in the world, but not getting caught up in the world. Like you can go through this, being Krishna conscious.
Correct.
And still, you're in the material realm.
Yes.
Yes. But in the transcendental at the same time.
Yes.
Oh, just three biblical relations come to mind. One with what you just said, 1 John 4, greater is he that is in him than he who is in the world. And then Jesus got very angry and pushed over their tables when, don't make my father's house a marketplace. Right?
Yes. A business place.
Right, but then, and then when he was at sea and there was a storm and everything, he was like so calm with his fishermen friends. So it reminded me of what you were saying with Prabhupada.
Yes. So, even so-called good karma is a bondage. We may get a very nice good karma. There are 4 results from the good karma. By these 4 things, we can understand that someone has a good karma. Beauty, good education, he's born in an aristocratic family, and wealth. These are 4 causes by which we can understand that someone has a good karma. But then, even so-called good karma is a bondage. Why? Because it's material. So it will keep you in a material jail. Bad things will keep you in the material jail. Good things will also keep you in the material jail. Let's say if we accept that this material world is like a jail, you want to go out, but they don't allow you, so you have to suffer. But if you can go out, but you think, wait a minute, it's not such a bad place. Actually, I'm quite comfortable here. I like it. Then you are again in the trouble. Because you can go, but you are so conditioned that you don't want. So that's why good karma is also a bondage. It keeps you, it creates the illusion in your mind that, well, actually, wait a minute, it's not so bad. I can establish myself quite well here and I feel nice. Why I have to go somewhere else? Why I have to go to the spiritual world? What do I know about the spiritual world? Here everything is clear. I know where is my shop, market. I know my friends, and I know what will be my breakfast, and I know the weather. Everything is clear. Well, let me stay here. So it's a bondage.
It's like, I also heard it from the devotees. They were saying like heaven, like when we go to heaven, people who have obtain nice credits, so they go to heaven. And the pleasure is so high there, because no old age, no disease, no that the danger is that we might forget God and fall back here.
Correct, yes.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
The danger to go on the heavenly planets,
danger,
higher planets, is that the sense gratification, their opportunity for happiness is so high and intense that you don't think that there is something wrong and you don't really want to change your situation. So you miss the opportunity to engage in devotional service often.
Not in this material world, in heaven.
In heaven,
Yes.
like the heavenly planet is so opulent, it's so
Higher.
nice.
Here,
And
it's
so
kind of,
the danger is that we might
we
fall
want to
back
stay there.
about God and fall back here.
Correct.
Also, yeah.
So basically, here on earthly planets, more or less the happiness and distress is kind of balanced. As much happiness we have, as much distress we have. Of course, it's different for every individual, but more or less it's like that. That's why we are on Earth. If we go on higher planets, the distress becomes quite less and the opportunities for happiness a lot. Your senses are stronger, your body is stronger, you can enjoy much more. That's why the intelligent spiritualists are saying that it's very foolish to try to enjoy here on earth, where actually we are to make a karma, to work. Because just this place is not made for enjoyment. Heavenly planets are made for enjoyment. This place is made to work hard to get a good karma, material or spiritual. So that's why they are saying if someone is born on earth, it's more intelligent to go through a serious tapasya for spiritual purpose, or if you are less intelligent, okay, at least for material purpose, and then next life you can go and you can enjoy for a very long time. But to try to enjoy here on earth, it's very stupid. Transcendentalists are saying, spiritualists are saying, because you cannot enjoy here. You can really not enjoy on earthly plane. You cannot enjoy, because the enjoyment and the suffering are kind of balanced. So you try, but you won't be able. You actually, most of the time, you will suffer. If you really want to enjoy material, you have to go to Svarga, to the heavenly planets. But the problem, as Mataji is saying, is that when you go to Svarga, you think, hey, here's very nice, let me just stay here, why I have to go to a spiritual world? So you are again in bondage, material bondage.
Spiritual devotion in that heavenly.
There is, yes. All the demigods, they are doing devotion to Krishna, to Vishnu.
That's what the demigod means.
But they are so attached to matter that they don't want to leave.
There is no old.
They don't want to continue. They can easily continue. They can easily from the heavenly planet say, hey, wait a minute, this is also temporarily. Let me just completely focus on my devotional service and go to spiritual. But generally they don't think like that, because the sense gratification is so intense that basically completely involves your mind. and your mind becomes distracted from devotional service to sense gratification. The amount of sense gratification you can get there is, we don't know what is it. It's a different stories.
That is temporary. It's temporary.
That is also temporary.
It's temporary.
But your mind is so much involved that you don't accept it as a temporary. You think, wow, that's the perfection of life. Such a first-class enjoyment from all perspectives. Eating, defending, sex, everything. It's like max. That's why when you go there, actually you become influenced by Maya. It's again Maya.
And it's a planetary heaven that's greater than this where we're.
It's higher than this.
But there's still consciousness that are held within material bodies?
Of course. Just the material bodies are not
like ours.
It's not made from earth. They're made from a finer material elements, and they allow you completely different freedom and completely different experience.
Comes with its natural
Yes.
limitations.
The higher you go, the more refined is the body, and the more refined opportunities for sense gratification. The down you go, like on earth, our body is very gross, and the opportunity for sense gratification is extremely small. Like now, if I give you to eat nice food, how much you can eat?
A certain amount.
Certain amount. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 1 hour.
No matter how good it is.
Yes. If you are like Greeks, okay, you can just do it few times, one after the other. You know what they were doing, yes? When they were completely full, because they wanted to continue to enjoy, but the body cannot anymore. Yes.
Srila Prabhupada said that.
That's nice.
Yes.
Srila Prabhupada said that compared to theirs, it's so beautiful, their body, so we look like frogs. Have you ever heard that? Srila Prabhupada said that. We look like frogs.
Frogs.
Srila Prabhupada said compared to their beauty, we
Yeah,
look like frogs. Srila Prabhupada
one
said
time
that.
Srila
You ever
Prabhupada
heard
gave
that?
this example,
You
yes.
ever heard this? Yeah,
Yes.
he said
So basically the idea is that we should not try to find a good place in the material world. We should try to get out of the material world, go back to Krishna. Then we will have enjoyment, but this enjoyment will be eternal. It won't be temporary. So akarma, or action in Krishna consciousness, burns completely the previous reactions. We said we have different kinds of reactions. When we do something good or bad, immediate reaction is coming. Let's say I go now to some of you and I slap him, and most probably immediately there will be a reaction. So that's immediate reaction. But there is also a different subtle reaction that in the future this will have to happen again and again and again. So one is called, immediate reaction is called prarabdha karma, and the reaction that is waiting and it will appear in the future is called aprarabdha. So manifested, prarabdha means manifested, aprarabdha means not manifested. It will manifest in the future.
That the action has to manifest again, or that it meets us back? That we get an equal...
That we will get a equal result, equal
Not that
reaction.
we're meant to do the pattern.
Also, that's part of the aprarabdha, that you are getting this bad habit and you will be involved again. For example, you steal something, one reaction will be that they may caught you and you have to suffer for some amount of time. But the not immediate reaction is that you develop this tendency, and after some time again you have the desire to do it again. This is how it works, this cycle. So what's the benefit of Krishna consciousness? Krishna consciousness destroys all kinds of reaction on all the levels. Immediate reaction, reactions who are waiting, who are not manifested, the sinful inclinations, the bad habits are also destroyed. And not only this, but also the main root reason for all this, the ignorance. Why we are doing all these things? Why do we desire material stuff? Why we are going to engage in bad habits? Why we are going to perform a bad activity? Because of lack of knowledge, because of ignorance. So Krishna consciousness does not just destroy the final result from our good or bad activities, or the bad habits that we have, or the inclinations that we develop. It destroys also the initial root cause, the ignorance. How? By establishing us in pure transcendental knowledge. Wait a minute, why I have to do all this crap? Why I have to do all this stuff when I am a spiritual soul? What do I have to do with all these things? I don't have nothing to do. I have to do something only with Krishna and his service. I'm eternal servant of Krishna. So this knowledge, when appears in the heart of the person, he doesn't have the need anymore to act on all these levels, to desire them, to do them. So this is the power of Krishna consciousness. That's why we are saying Krishna consciousness has the power to destroy all karmic reactions from the beginning till the end. Other spiritual processes are also very powerful, but they don't have this power. They are able to destroy only the reaction, but the wrong desires will stay, and the bad habits will also stay to some extent. And what to speak of ignorance, the ignorance will also stay, because they leave us in the illusion that we are the controllers and we are the enjoyers. Other spiritual practices. We can make some spiritual advancement, but this wrong idea, this ignorant idea, deeply in our consciousness will stay. I'm the controller and I'm the enjoy. I want to enjoy in this way. I want to control in this way. So basically, I want to be God. I want to kill God and I will want to take the place of God. This ignorant idea stays in the consciousness of the conditioned living entity. Krishna consciousness has the power to destroy even this, because you establish yourself in your original position. No, I'm not God. I don't want to take the place of God. I want to enjoy with God. I want to support his pastimes. I want to give him pleasure by seeing that he is enjoying, I will also enjoy. It's a totally different perspective. It's a positive change of consciousness. It's not just what I am not, but it's rather what I will become, eternal servant of Krishna. Yes.
Do you know the story when Lord Indra, when his spiritual master came in the room and he was so proud because he's Lord Indra? So he ignored his spiritual master. He didn't give respect properly to his spiritual master. And then he be cursed to take birth. Is that here? As a pig.
Yes. Do you know this story?
We've talked about Indra.
Indra, the king of heaven, he did something wrong. I'm not sure if it was...
It was his spiritual master. I understood. I heard it from the devotee. I think that's what I heard. I think from the devotee.
So
that
if
the spiritual master entered the room and he was so proud. He's a king of heaven and everybody give him respect. So he didn't give. Many times there was different offenses. One time his spiritual master. One time he offended Durvasa Muni. So he was cursed. In the case of Durvasa Muni gave Indra his garland, which is a big respect. Saintly person is giving you his garland, you have to really appreciate this. Indra took it from himself and gave it to his elephant, his carrier. And because elephant is an elephant, still an animal, he just took it and threw it under his feet and stepped it. And when Durvasa Muni saw this, he said, okay, you're not qualified to be a king of heaven because you are ignorant, you don't know how to keep good relationship with holy people, so I guess you have to get your lesson. Next moment, Indra was on earth as a pig. And because he entered this deep illusion, the earthly illusion, he felt so nice with his piggy wife and his piggy kids and his piggy house and everything. At some point, Brahma, after a very short time, of course, that short time on the heavenly planets, here it was not so short, but Brahma saw and said, wait a minute, we don't have a king of heaven. What we are going to do, we have a big problem. Okay, I will personally go and get Indra to come back and rule. So he went down to earth and he went and he said, hey Indra, just come back, we need you upstairs.
And Indra said, what? Brahma said, yeah, you are Indra, you are the king of heaven, you are not a pig, just forget about all this, forget about your piggy story here, and just get out. And Indra was like, no, I feel so nice here with my wife and my kids, and I can all the time, yeah, take my muddy bath. I feel very nice. I can eat stew all the time. It's so tasty. I don't want to go anywhere else. And then Brahma, he understood, okay, he's in such a deep Maya that I have to do it by force. So by force, he arranged the situation in such a way that he took him back to the heavenly
I have a
planets.
question, Prabhu. Why, like, all the stories has to do with Indra? Because even though being a king of heaven, you know, he was into like a lot of activities where.
Why?
Yeah.
You know why? Oh, because he is not a pure devotee. If you are a devotee but you are not a pure devotee, the Maya will influence you from time to time. And if Maya influences you, that means you have troubles in your life. Because you go through the modes of nature, sometimes you feel good, everything will be fine. Next moment passion will come, you do crazy things, then you have to suffer. Next moment ignorance will come, you do stupid things, you will, after that you will regret for such a long time, but anyway you did it. Ignorance. So only the pure devotees there about the modes of material nature, and they don't have problems. Maya cannot touch them. Often it's given the example with Indra from one side and with Haridas Thakur from other side. Indra, he was tested. Of course, Indra, he tested many sages also. Because they were not pure devotees, they were influenced by the power of Maya. Haridas Thakur, because he was a pure devotee, although directly Maya personified in the form of extremely beautiful young girl came to taste him. Haridas Thakur, he was in such a steady level situated on the spiritual platform, even the Maya personified could not touch him. Even the Maya personified. So this is generally given as example the difference between pure devotees and mixed devotees. Of course, Indra, he is an extremely great personality. We are even not qualified to speak about him because he is hundreds of levels above our devotion and understanding about spirituality and so on and so on. What to speak that our Indra, he just short ago, 5,000 years ago, he got personally the darshan of Krishna. Not one time, many times, personally. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was here and he got this mercy. What to speak that Krishna personally appeared as the smaller brother of Indra, as Vamanadev. So Indra, he is extremely benefited in his position, just his position is difficult because he's in the material world, he is sometimes under the influence of Maya, and he has unlimited opportunities for sense gratification, which make his situation difficult. If you are a poor guy from the neighborhoods, kind of you know what is all about life, yes? There will be today a little bit, in the evening I will enjoy 20 minutes, and then tomorrow I will have to suffer again the whole day, and that's life. I mean, yes. Now if you are Indra, it's a different story. You just make like that. Everything is in front of you. Everything. There is nothing. Everything from the whole universe. Not like from America, Manhattan Mall or something like that. Everything from the whole universe. The best. The best. The best. The best dancer girls. The best quality food. The best advertisement. The best. The top is for you. You are the king of the universe, basically. So it's a very difficult situation, very, very difficult situation. That's why the intelligent demigods, they are praying for the opportunity to be able to come on earth, because here enjoyment and suffering are kind of balanced, and also here life is very short. So here just for crash course, yes, 1 of our years is 24 hours for them. So that means if you live 100 years, we don't live 100, but let's say, put it, 100 years, that means for 100 days from their life, you can achieve perfection and go back to the spiritual world. 100 days. This is 1/3 year. Less even, maybe, 1/4 of a year. You can just seriously perform devotional service 1/4 of a year from their perspective. Go back to the spiritual world. Wow, that's a deal.
And why did
In heaven, you cannot do it so fast. And you have so many allurements and difficulties. And
you didn't finish your thought? You
Because
didn't
I
finish
think
your
I heard they said because Lord Chaitanya came, so that's why they were praying to come, because they know Lord Chaitanya.
yes, very fast, very fast. You can get love of God
That's why,
get so
because
fast.
they heard Lord Chaitanya was
Correct.
here. So that's why they wanted to come, right? And then concerning Lord Indra, you know, I heard from, I don't know if you, Lord Indra is a position, right? Is a position.
It's a position, correct.
Yeah, you have different Lord Indra, you can have different Lord Indra.
Different living
And
entities,
I
they
heard
take this
from
position
devotee-
of Lord
I heard they
Indra.
were saying that sometimes Lord Indra is afraid when he sees somebody working very hard and going
Correct.
high spiritually.
Correct, yes.
And he afraid they're going to get his position, so he send his
Create an
ladies
obstacles.
to his best ladies to make them fall down.
Send his
And
best
then
ladies.
it is said, and I heard they saying that if there is nobody qualified to be Lord Indra, Krishna himself
Can
yes,
take
can
this
himself
position.
and take the post.
Correct, yes.
Yeah,
That is true. That is true. Last point for today.
It just parallels that the beautiful Bible compared to the depth that the Bhagavad Gita has so much more. Here, heaven, whatever it is, hell, purgatory, limbo, heaven. Now, the King of Heaven, though, is all that you're saying. So, it's just...
Yes, the Vedic scriptures, they give you opportunity to see in a perspective all these other scriptures, like the Bible, the Quran, the Talmud, and so on and so on. Because they have a higher point of view, then you can see where is the place of everything else. Thank you very much, dear devotees. So that was our discussion on karma and the law of karma. We will have 2 more times, and then we will close up the shop for a time being.
You can't get rid of us that quickly.
And then we'll continue in the autumn. So thank you very much, Shri Prabhupada ki.
Yeah.
Gaura